Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Becomes the Red Dragon King Part 1. Before we start, please go support Issei Lucifer for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. After Lady Phoenix asked Issei and the others to protect Ravel, to which Issei agreed, Riaz turned around and was about to leave the room, then Issei noticed something was wrong with Riaz and asked her about it. Issei. Is something wrong, President? Riaz. Issei, I need to know, would you protect me? Issei. Yeah, of course, I'd die for you, President. Riaz. What about Asia? Issei. Huh, yeah, I'd protect her too. Riaz. And Akeno. Issei. Totally, why wouldn't I? Still though, why are you asking? Something up? Riaz. Issei, tell me. Issei. Yeah, what? Riaz. What am I to you? How do you see me? Issei. Riaz. Just answer me already. Issei. Okay, well, let me think. You're the president. Riaz. You idiot, she ran away from the room crying. Asia. Riaz, wait, I can't believe you. Issei, you're horrible, why can't you understand her feelings? Asia ran out of the room after Riaz. Issei. Wait, I don't understand, what happened, why are Asia and Riaz angry? Akeno. It's natural that Riaz and Asia are angry. Zenobia. Even I, who is dense, know that you did it wrong. Kaneko. You're the worst. When they all said this, Issei felt as though his heart started to crack, then he looked at Gasper. Issei. Gasper, do you think I'm a piece of shit too? Gasper. Yes, I think you made the president cry. Issei was hurt by this and was about to leave the room to go after Riaz until Akeno stopped him. Akeno. Don't you dare, the current Issei will fail to see the situation and will only hurt her more. At this comment, Issei was very angry. He simply ran out of the club room and as he did he heard something that broke his heart. Riaz whispered to herself. Riaz. Whisper, I wish I never revived you. Issei ran from the orc building with tears in his eyes. Everyone at school saw this and was wondering what happened to Issei. Some looked at him with pity and others said he deserved it. Issei didn't know and didn't care, all he knew is that he wanted to get away from the orc as fast as possible. When he arrived at the Haidu residence he went straight to his room, which soon became a complete mess due to Issei in his rage ransacking it and destroying several things. Then Issei laid down, he felt hot and sick like he was going to cough up blood. All he could think about is how nearly everyone berated him. Why did they turn on him like that? What did he do to deserve such treatment? Is this karma for being a pervert? Did they ever stop to think that maybe he is still haunted by the ghosts of his past, just as they were? Even before he became a devil, people constantly looked down on him, he was never taken seriously, even his own parents didn't take his seriously. He thought found a home with the orc, but he was wrong. Issei. Why did me all because I couldn't say her name? I've fought tooth and nail for Riaz and the rest of them, and this is how they repay me. I've nearly died several times, Raynor and the fallen angels, Riser, Kakabiel, Vali, Kuroka, Loki, and Fenrir. I fought a god and nearly died in the process of it. If it wasn't for Ravel giving me the phoenix tears I'd be dead. And finally the dimensional gap. I was ready to give up being a devil just to save her, and I nearly died in there. I've put my life on the line several times, voice cracking. I've even sacrificed my limbs literally. I helped them overcome their traumas, so why couldn't they see mine? And how could Riaz say that about me? I just want to end it all. Issei raised his arm, summoned his sacred gear, the boosted gear, and began the chant. I who shall awaken am the heavenly dragon that. Partner. Drake was worried. Issei. He already lost 99% of his life force from the previous Juggernaut drive. Luckily him and Kaneko were able to recover a good 10%, but that was over several sessions, and it wouldn't be enough to save Issei this time around. If Issei activated the Juggernaut drive he would not survive. Drake tried calling out to Issei, but he couldn't hear Drake, his mind was clouded, and inside the sacred gear the past hosts appeared and were trying to take over Issei's mind, trying to convince him to use the Juggernaut drive. Drake did everything he could to hold back the past hosts. He hoped someone would snap Issei out of his state hell. He'd even take Albion's help. All Issei could think about was how nearly everyone in the orc turned on him. He wanted to kill them. He was constantly put his life on the line to protect them. He went to great lengths to help them overcome their problems, but now they treated him like trash. Then Issei started to break down and cry. He was so hurt that he didn't have it in him to finish the chant. Drake couldn't stand to see his partner in this state. He'd come to know Issei for who he is. He saw Issei as a brother and best friend. Before Issei, most of Drake's previous hosts used him only as a tool. They never bothered to speak with him or call him by his name. They simply called him Dragon and used his power. But Issei was different. Issei saw Drake as a partner and friend. He'd ask Drake for advice, and he respected him. In the beginning when Drake looked into Issei's mind he was disappointed. He thought Issei was going to be a useless pervert, and like most of his other hosts use him as a tool. Nothing more, nothing less. However, slowly over time Issei proved him wrong. While Issei may not be his strongest Red Dragon Emperor, he was the best host Drake ever had, even compared to Elsha, the second strongest Red Dragon Emperor in history, and Belzer, the strongest Red Dragon Emperor in history. Issei continued to cry, then he stopped as he felt his face being buried in some breasts. They belonged to a beautiful girl with fair porcelain skin, blonde hair styled in drill curls, with sapphire eyes. Her name was Ravel Phoenix. She was distraught to Issei broken down like this. Ravel Phoenix, Issei. Ravel. Ravel. It's okay Issei, I'm here for you. I can't believe they turned their backs on you after everything you did for them. She sat on the bed with Issei's face still buried in her breasts. Issei. I don't understand why would they turn on me like that after everything we've been through, after all the times I put my life on the lifetime and time again. Sure I made mistakes, but I kept going and didn't give up. Why what did I do to deserve this? He sobbed some more, then Ravel put his head on her lap. Ravel. I don't know Issei, but I know that you don't deserve this. You are a kind, sweet, caring, and determined person. You make the impossible possible. In my opinion, they were too concerned with themselves and what they wanted to see that you're in pain. Flashback, the Keno. Honestly I can't believe Issei, how dense can he be? He's such a brainless dildo. Zenovia. I agree that was way out of line, even I know what he did wrong. Kaneko. It's because he's a useless pervert. Ravel. Shut up. Ravel's sudden outburst caught everyone off guard. How can you speak about him like that after everything he's done for you? The Keno. Ravel listen. Ravel. No you listen to Keno. Issei wasn't a devil for a whole month, yet he participated in the raiding game against my brother and took down a decent amount of pieces as weak as he was. Then after losing he crashed the engagement party. He gave up his arm so he could achieve balance breaker and defeated my brother using holy objects. He also took on Kakabiel and many more foes that were way too powerful for you to handle. Although you've been devils longer than Issei, he was the only one that could take on those foes. An example of that is Mjolnir. He was the only one that could use it. The fact that you have the nerve to talk about Issei like this absolutely disgusts me. You're so full of yourself you couldn't notice how much Issei is suffering and how afraid he is. Honestly, I can't stand to be around you disgusting people. But that, she stormed out of the club room to find Issei so she could talk to him. Flashback end. Issei. Thanks for standing up for me Ravel. Ravel. Of course Issei. Partner. Issei. Drake. I've been calling your name this entire time, but your negative emotions were blocking me out. You need to calm down or you'll active the Juggernaut drive. Issei. I'm sorry Drake, I just have a lot on my plate right now. I know Issei, I saw everything that happened and I am deeply disappointed in them. Listen Issei, what happened was not your fault, they're the ones that are a fool, not you. They didn't let you finish your confession because you didn't confess the way they wanted you to, but had they been patient this wouldn't have happened. The only thing they were concerned about was you confessing your love to the Gremory girl so they could deepen their relationship with you. They were so concerned with what they wanted that they failed to recognize your trauma from the fallen angel. Ravel. What do you mean a fallen angel traumatized Issei? Has anyone ever told you how Issei became a devil? Ravel. No, I've never heard that. Very few knew how Issei became a devil in detail, those few being Azazel, Vali, Riaz, and the orc. Then listen closely, about 4 months ago Issei was asked out on a date by a fallen angel named Yuma. Her real name was Rainer. Issei thought things were finally going his way. As you can tell, being asked out on a date meant the world to Issei, especially him being a pervert. He even sold all his porn for some extra money so he could look his best. The day of the date everything went perfectly, but then at the end of the date when they were in a park, the fallen angel said to Issei, will you die for me? Afterwards she revealed that she was a fallen angel. Then she stabbed him in the gut and said it was God's fault for giving him the sacred gear. After that she flew away. Then Riaz came and revived Issei into a devil. Luckily Issei happened to be one of the people to receive a flyer from her familiar. The memory of that day has deeply scared Issei down to his very soul. It's why he's afraid of women, and the perversion was pretty much just a cover-up to an extent. Ravel. Issei, I'm so sorry that happened to you. No one should have to go through that, and I'm sorry for asking about that. How the hell did Riaz and Sona let this happen? Both the Gremory girl and Sona Citri didn't have a choice in the matter. Issei's reincarnation happened before the peace treaty was signed by the three factions, and they were not aware that they were Rouge fallen angels. Yet as a result, had they attempted to make a move on either Issei or the Rouge fallen angels, it could have restarted the Great War, which is something neither side needed. Ravel. I understand, but still, Issei. It's okay Ravel, it was my fate, same as it's my fate to be alone and never be loved. I've come to realize that. Ravel. Issei, that's not true. Issei. Yes it is, I'm still afraid of women, and who would want to love a pervert like me? Ravel. Issei, that's enough of that foolishness, this isn't like you. What happened to the Issei that was willing to defy fate? Issei. He's dead. Listen Drake, you should find a new. Loud growl. Listen here you Brad, I won't tolerate you acting like this. After everything we've been through, are you really going to give up? Even though it has been a short time that I've been with you compared to my other hosts, I'm proud of you. You're a true dragon in every sense. You're kind, courageous, determined, awe-inspiring, and most of all you're pure-hearted, a rare quality among all beings including dragons. And your will is simply incredible, despite being a newly reincarnated devil for not even a month you managed to take down Phoenix, who was rumored by the devils to be immortal, which should have been impossible for someone of your strength, but that didn't stop you, you gave it everything you had. Next you managed to fight Kakabiel, a Cadre-class fallen angel that survived figuring against God and the original 4 Devil Kings. Even though the odds were against you, you didn't give up, and not many can say that they fought against someone like that and lived to tell the tale. After that you took on Vali, who is a direct descendant of the original Lucifer and proclaimed to be called the strongest white dragon emperor past, present, and future. You managed to fight him to a standstill, then you proceeded to fight Loki, the god of mischief, and his son Fenrir. You took an attack from Fenrir that was meant for your master, which nearly resulted in your death. Thankfully that was avoided thanks to Ravel, although I might have been able to save you by turning you into a dragon. You also were able to wield Mjolnir, which requires one to be worthy, and not to mention it was extremely heavy, especially after being bitten by a god-killing dog. Once that vermin was dealt with, you then entered the Juggernaut Drive, killing Shalba Beelzebub, and you managed to survive it, with some help from our rival, where in most cases other white dragon emperors or empress would have let you die, and most importantly you are the first to ever survive the Juggernaut Drive. After that you saved your master from the dimension gap and attracted Great Red, which very few have been able to do. You could almost say it's his principle to ignore things that don't interest him. Lastly, but perhaps your greatest feat yet, you managed to make the wielder of the true Longinus run with his tail between his legs. Your will is what will make you truly dangerous and most powerful Red Dragon Emperor. Whatever you choose to do, I'll stick with you all the way. I refuse to turn my back on you. Well, you may not be my most powerful host, you're definitely the best host I've ever had. Issei. Thanks Drake, that means a lot to me. Igua. Drake Ravel. Issei started to cough up blood. Issei. Ragged breathing. Drake, what's happening to me? No, how is this possible? You're not a full-blooded dragon or a half-blood, this shouldn't be possible. Ravel. Drake, what's happening to Issei? She was concerned about Issei's health. Issei, listen carefully, we don't have much time, you have Dragon's Fall. Issei. What's that? It's something that only dragons received when their lover betrayed them. First, you will cough up blood, then your body will weaken to the point that your body is paralyzed, then you will die slowly, he said in a solemn tone. Ravel. Is there anything we can do? There has to be something. Yes there is. Ravel. What is it? To fully negate the curse and restore Issei's life force, he must find a mate and mark her. Marking someone is when usually a male dragon marks a female as an act of claiming her as his. This is done by taking small amounts of each other's blood and giving her some of his draconic energy. Marking someone you love or don't love does not matter. Attraction between both the person marking and the marked person will happen, which means marking can happen forcefully as well. The male and female will also influence each other slightly. The problem here is there's no one that can do it. Ravel. I'll do it. Issei and Drake were shocked. Issei. Ravel, you're a pure-blooded devil, once you do it it'll be permanent, no going back whatsoever. I don't. Ravel. I don't care about that Issei, I care about you. Issei was shocked. He began to wonder if Ravel secretly had feelings for him. Ravel's words began to touch Issei's heart. Then Ravel noticed what she just said and blushed hard, but continued on. Look Issei, the truth is I didn't come to Kuo just so I could learn about the human world and how to interact with them. I came here because of you. Issei. You came here because of me? Ravel. Yes, and to be honest, when we first met I didn't think much of you. I thought you were nothing but a low-ranking perverted devil who happened to have the boosted gear, but you proved me wrong. Seeing how you courageously fought for Rias both times and defeating my brother, I started to develop feelings for you. You reminded me of the stories the servants used to tell me as a child about the heroes and knights that risk everything to protect the ones they loved. And your great deeds only made those feelings stronger. What I'm trying to say is I love you Issei, I swear to stick with you through thick and thin and never betray you. Issei was completely shocked, so was Drake, but Issei could tell Ravel wasn't lying as he looked into her eyes and her face that was the color of Ria's hair. While he knew she wasn't lying, Issei was still afraid of women. Then Raynor entered Issei's mind again and he thought about Rias and the others. Issei, I know what you're thinking, but Ravel isn't like that. I can tell she has genuine feelings for you. Please Issei, there's not much time. Issei. Okay, I'll put my trust in you too. Let's begin. So following Drake's instructions, Issei bit Ravel on her neck, taking in some of her blood and placing his draconic energy on her neck. Ravel moaned in bliss. Ravel. Blushing, is it over? Yes it is, but Issei needs to rest. The fall drained a lot of his energy. Ravel. Okay, she helped Issei lay back down on the bed so that he could get some rest and she fell asleep as well. She was happy she was finally with the one she loved. Meanwhile, as they slept, Drake contacted Fafnir, who contacted Azazel. Azazel was beyond furious. He released his aura, disintegrating nearly everything in the room he was in and scaring the shit out of the whole Grigori. They hadn't felt Azazel this angry since the Great War. Azazel was generally a cool laid-back guy, but he was also a calm, intelligent, and calculated person. That's one of the things that made him very dangerous. By the time the other cadres reached Azazel's office he was already gone. On the way to Issei's house he saw Kiba who had just finished a contract. Azazel. Yo Kiba. Kiba. Azazel, what's up, why are you so furious? Azazel. Issei's in trouble, we need to go now. Kiba immediately followed Azazel, and they hurried to the Haidu residence. Once they reached it they went upstairs to Issei's room and noticed the doors were locked. There was also a barrier there, not powerful enough to keep Azazel out, but it was still strong. Azazel broke down the barrier and what he and Kiba saw shocked them. Issei and Ravel were cuddled up together and Issei had his face buried in Ravel's breasts. Azazel let out a sigh of relief. Kiba. Azazel, what's going on and what are those marks on their necks? Kiba asked. Azazel simply sighed and told him to sit down. He then told Kiba everything Drake told Fafnir, who told Azazel. To say Kiba was furious was an understatement. He couldn't believe Riaz and the others treated him like that. Well, maybe Gasper since he cared about Riaz and owes her his life, but still. So what's going to happen now? Azazel. Not sure for now, let's wake up Ravel. Azazel stepped forward and gently shook Ravel, sat up rubbing her eyes. Ravel. Groggy. Azazel. Kiba, what are you doing here? Azazel. We know about Issei's condition, Drake told me through Fafnir. How's he holding up? Ravel. I'm not exactly sure. I can answer that. Issei is currently in a deep sleep. For some reason I am unable to wake him up. Something is blocking me. Also I've turned most of Issei's body into a dragon. The curse destroyed a lot of his body. Azazel. Surziches isn't going to be happy about this. I damn Riaz, you really are an idiot. Well, we can't do anything until he wakes up, but I'm going to talk to Surziches and Grafia. Let me know when he wakes up. Azazel stepped out the room to call Surziches and Grafia. Scene change. Bali was training when suddenly Albion appeared. Bali. Albion, what's wrong? It's Drake, he's furious. Something serious must have happened. I've never felt him this angry before, even during the Great War, when our battle was interrupted. Bali. When you put it like that it makes me worried. I hope he's alright. I'd hate for him to die before we have our fight. Yes, however, I suggest you stay away from him for now. There's no telling what'll happen if you cross paths. Bali. Alright, let's get back to training. Chapter 2. Issei was inside the sacred gear and he was lying in what seemed like an endless void. It was pitch black, he couldn't see anything. Then he heard a voice. I see you're awake. Issei was startled. He tried to contact Drake, but he couldn't. You can't contact the Welsh dragon. Issei. Who are you? Show yourself, ugh. Issei was blinded by a bright white light. When it finally died down, he saw he was in a field of flowers. It was beautiful scenery. Then he saw a handsome man with black hair and red eyes. His body was well built. He wore what looked like a school uniform, but not like one Issei had seen. He also wore black fingerless gloves. Issei. Who are you? Are you one of Drake's past hosts? No, I am not. My name is Anos Voldigid, the Demon King of Tyranny. Issei was confused. He'd never heard of him before or that title, and he felt strong demonic energy coming from Anos. It reminded him of Surziches, but it was different. Issei. Why are you here and how come I've never heard of you or the Demon King of Tyranny, and what did you do to Drake? Anos. Relax, I didn't do anything to Drake, I simply put up a barrier so you can't contact each other. I'll remove the barrier when I'm through explaining myself. Issei let out a sigh of relief. He was glad nothing happened to Drake. Issei. Alright, I'm all ears. Anos. Good, have a seat, this will be a lot to take in. Anos created 2 chairs. They sat down and he began to explain things to Issei. Anos. The reason why you've never heard of me or my title is that I'm from another world. Issei just blinked and stared at him. Anos knew he needed convincing, so he decided to use source magic. Issei couldn't believe what he was seeing. Anos. This is source magic, do you believe me now? Issei. Yes, sorry, please continue. Anos, there's no need to apologize, I expected you would act like this. Would you like to see the history of my world? Issei. Yes. Anos. Very well, but I should warn you it's quite gruesome. Rivide. Using Rivide, Anos rewound time around him and showed Issei the history of his world. They saw the mythical age 2000 years back in time, according to Anos' world. Issei was at first in awe at what he saw, then horrified as he saw the Great War. He saw how the demons, humans, spirits, and gods fought each other, and how the gods manipulated the humans, which pissed Issei off. Anos noticed it and unknown to Issei he smirked. Issei then understood how and why Anos became the Demon King of Tyranny, and why he was feared. In fact, when he saw Anos' power he started to tremble. That's when Anos put a hand on his shoulder, assuring he wouldn't hurt Issei. Issei calmed down, and he saw how compassionate, intelligent, calm, cool, and collected Anos was. He also saw that Anos was a master strategist. Eventually, it was all over. It felt like hours, but Anos told Issei it was only 10 minutes. Anos. Now do you understand? Issei. Yes, but why are you here? Shouldn't you be with your loved ones, and what about your kingdom? Anos. There's no need to worry, I'm a copy of the original Anos. I hold all his memories and power. Once peace was achieved, I decided to duplicate myself and sent my duplicates throughout the multiverse. Those who were worthy would be chosen to have me. Issei's eyes widened when he heard that the multiverse is real. He thought it was made up. Anos. Don't worry, I won't be lonely. I have my friends and harem with me. They also decided to duplicate themselves, and even if I didn't have them, I'd still have you and Drake to keep me company. Issei. Well, I'm sorry you ended up with a pathetic host like me. Slap. Issei felt like he got hit by Tannen twice. Anos had slapped him. Issei. Oh, would you? Anos. That's what you get for degrading and berating yourself. Don't you ever call yourself pathetic or look down on yourself, do you hear me? It took a minute for Issei to get over the shock of Anos slapping him, then when Anos saw that he had regained his senses, he continued his lecture. Anos. The reason you were chosen is because you are pure in heart, you're determined, courageous, and you seek to benefit the lives of others. That's. Your aura is pure and innocent. You were thrust into this world, you didn't have a choice, but still you were determined to make the best of it. You kept moving forward despite being killed by the fallen angel, being forced to become a devil, nearly dying again, having your friend kidnapped, and taking 4 light spears that under normal circumstances would have killed a low-ranking devil. Even during the fight with Riser, when it was only you and Riaz, you kept fighting. When Riser was about to kill you, you didn't look away, you were cower in fear, you looked him in the eye with a look of determination. When you were given a second chance to save Riaz, you put aside your feelings and gave up your arm to achieve Balance Breaker. You used the little knowledge you had at your disposal and defeated him, even if the methods were unorthodox. Then the Cadre class Fallen Angel, Kakabiel, you used your abilities the best you could. You proceeded to change straight and you destroyed his light spear and punched him in the face. If the White Dragon Emperor hadn't shown up, you might have beaten him. After that you fought the White Dragon Emperor in an enraged state and still managed to think clearly. You also managed to adjust your tactics and use Volley's weakness to your advantage. Then the most fascinating part, when dragged to you to run away while others may have you stayed knowing you might die. Then you once again used the little knowledge that you possessed and merged Volley's power with your sacred gear, even though you could have died. But you were determined. Your determination made the impossible possible, even when it was thought to be suicide. Then chuckle. The next thing that I didn't expect was your power to increase that much, just to keep your master's chest from getting smaller. Even so, you fought Volley to a standstill, causing him to want to use the Juggernaut drive. After that battle you took on Loki, the god of mischief, took down Diodora Astaroth, survived the Juggernaut drive, took on the hero faction of the Chaos Brigade, survived a stab from the True Holy Spear, said to be the strongest Longinus, and unlocked your potential. All in all, you're truly an incredible person. You accomplished all this, and it hasn't been a whole year, and a lot of it sadly stems from your perversion. Issei. Yeah, I know I'm Anos. But despite that, you didn't take advantage of women, and you used your perversion for the sake of helping others. He put his hand on Issei's shoulder. Anos. Issei, I know you're still hurt over Rainer's betrayal. That's why you couldn't confess your feelings to the girls, and I know you're still hurt from what they and your master said, but you have to move forward. Issei. Issei. Wait, how do you know about all this? Anos. I've been watching over you since you were born. However, the original Anos gave us orders not to intervene unless necessary. Even though you were killed by the fallen angel, I would have saved you. The same applies to all the other times you've nearly died. Issei couldn't help but cry as he thought about everything he'd been through and how the girls just turned on him. Anos stepped forward and hugged Issei, calming him down. Anos. It's alright, Issei, let it all out. Issei cried on Anos' shoulder. He cried for a long time. Issei. It's not fair. Why do I have to suffer? What did I do to deserve this? I know I'm a pervert, but this isn't right. I just wanted a normal life. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, including Volley. Anos kept holding Issei and listened to all his problems like a kind big brother. After a while Issei finally stopped crying and Anos let him go. Issei. I'm sorry you had to see me like this. He said as he wiped away his tears. Anos. It's alright, but listen Issei, just because Riaz and her peerage turned you doesn't mean there are others who don't love and will love you for who you are as Issei Haidu, not just the Red Dragon Emperor. Issei. Really? Anos. Yes, you have Ravel, your friend Irina, and your parents, and I'll help you find others, but first you have to move forward. Issei. What if I get betrayed? Anos. I won't lie, it happens, but you have to be willing to move forward. If you're rejected or betrayed, I'll be right here with you, I promise. Issei. Yeah, but Anos. Issei, listen closely. True power lies not only in one's strength, but in one's way of being. If you stay like this, you're proving what the girl said about you to be right. Issei. Yes, I am. Anos. Then rise up and prove to me, Drake, everyone else, and yourself that you're willing to keep up the fight. Tell me, who are you? Issei. I am Issei Haidu. I am the Red Dragon Emperor. Anos. What are you? Issei. A devil-human-dragon hybrid, a pervert I seek protect he innocent and weak, I'll get stronger no matter what it takes, I'll protect the people I care about. Anos smiled, Issei finally accepted himself and was ready to change. Anos. Good, you finally understand. I think it's time now. He dispelled the barrier that was holding back Drake. When Drake noticed it, he rushed toward Issei. Issei. Hey Drake, come down here. Drake descended, but he kept his guard up. He knew Anos was the one that cut off their communication, as he was far more powerful than Drake. Issei noticed it. He decided to introduce Drake to Anos. Issei. Drake, this is Anos Voldigid, the demon king of tyranny. He's not a threat, he's a good friend of mine. There's no need to worry, he didn't do anything to me. It's nice to meet you, Anos Voldigid. I assume you're the one that cut off our link. Anos. Yes, I wanted to talk to Issei one-on-one, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm here and how did I overpower you. Drake nodded, then Anos put his hand on Drake's head and showed him the history of his world, along with what he told Issei. Drake was horrified by what he saw. The war in Anos' world made their great war seem like child's play in comparison. Drake was fascinated by the magic that they use. He also saw how powerful Anos is and knew not to piss him off. Once Anos showed him everything, he brought Drake up to speed. Then Anos began discussing plans for the future. Anos. Now that that's settled, I'm sure you're wondering what's going to happen from here on out. Drake and Issei nodded. I'm going to train you and Drake. I'll teach you how to use my powers, and I'll train you. I'll also free Drake from the sacred gear. You'll still have access to his abilities though. They couldn't believe what they just heard. Anos was going to train them, and he'd free Drake from the sacred gear. Drake started flying around and doing stunts. He was happy. Oh, how he couldn't wait to see the look on Albion's face when he finds out Drake is free. Anos. Also, I'll give both of you sources, since the creator of your world was ignorant regarding them to do so. Issei. Anos, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You helped put me back together, and you're giving me a third chance at life, and you're also giving Drake a second chance. Thank you. Anos. You're welcome, but it's time for you to wake up. You have people waiting on you. Issei. Yeah, I forgot about Ravel. Later, Anos. Anos. Later. When Issei opened his eyes, he saw Ravel, Kiba, Surziches, Grafia and Azazel looking at him. Issei. Oh hey guys, what's up? Ravel. How are you feeling? Ice. Issei. Pretty good, but why are the rest of you here? Azazel. Drake told us what happened in the club room. Issei. Oh, must be Fafnir, huh? Then Surziches stepped forward and bowed his head. Surziches. Issei, I'm sorry for what my sister did, please forgive me. Issei. Please raise your head, none of this is your family's fault, what's done is done, besides I'm over it. Surziches raised his head and he had a small smile on his face, and so did Grafia. They were glad Issei didn't blame them. Surziches. So, Issei. No. Surziches. No. Issei. I'm not going to forgive your sister or her peerage except for Gaspar, since he's the youngest among us, and he sided with Riaz because she's the president and the woman that saved his life. Surziches. Issei, I know what Riaz did was wrong, but she loves you. I'm sure if you two talk then. Issei. Loves me? What a joke. How can she possibly love me after saying that she regrets reviving me into a devil? Everyone. What? Surziches. What, that can't be. I'm not doubting you, Issei, but maybe you misheard her. No, he did not. I heard it as well. Everyone in the room was furious at Riaz, and Surziches couldn't help but fassip him hard. He couldn't understand why Riaz said such a thing, how she could even form the thoughts of such a thing after everything Issei has done. Issei. And that's not even the worst part of it. Now everyone except Ravel was worried about what would come next. No one wanted to ask, but Azazel had a hunch on what Issei meant. Grafia. Worried? What is it? Issei. I assume you remember how I became a devil. Surziches. Yes, you were killed by a fallen angel. That's when it hit Kiba and Azazel. Azazel. Kiba. Oh no. Azazel. Issei, please don't tell me it's about her. Issei nodded his head while Azazel lowered his head and his eyes were shaded by his hair. Then he unleashed a killing intent which made Kiba and Ravel tremble, while Surziches and Grafia felt even more worried because they never felt such anger from Azazel before, even in the Great War. Surziches. Nervous? Who are you talking about? Issei. I'll explain. Sigh. Well, it is known throughout the supernatural that I became a devil due to being murdered by a fallen angel. How I was killed isn't. Issei looked at them and saw that Surziches and Grafia were confused while Azazel was angry at himself for sending Rainer and her group to Kuo. The fallen angel that killed me, her name is Rainer, but she introduced herself to me as Yuma Mono. It was a day after school. I was standing on the bridge as the sun was setting. Then that's when she spoke to me. She wore a school uniform I had never seen before and asked me out on a date, claiming to be into me. I instantly should have known something was up, but my perversion blinded me. Anyways, the date went perfectly, and for once it looked like things were going in my favor, and I really did love her, even if it just met. Hell, I was willing to let go of perversion, if that's what it meant to get her to love me, and for us to be together, but. Grafia. Worried, but. Issei. Reality is a bitch. Sniffing, he shed some tears as he remembered the way she killed him. Ravel grabbed Issei's hand, letting him know he wasn't alone. Issei looked at her and she nodded, then taking a deep breath he continued. At the end of the date we ended up at a park and she asked me to do something for her to commemorate our date. I said sure, then she leaned forward, whispered into my ear, "Will you die for me?" Those words still haunt me to this day. Then she stabbed me in the gut with a light spear. Luckily Ria's familiar gave me a flyer that day. I happened to be thinking of her as I was dying. I looked at my hand, and it was covered in blood the color of crimson. It reminded me of Ria's hair which summoned her. Then, as you know, she resurrected me, and the rest is history. But the main thing is that when Ria said she regrets reviving me into a devil, it triggered Dragon's Fall. When he finished, Cerziches and Grafia had tears in their eyes, and Ravel, Azazel, and Kiba were furious. Cerziches. Issei, I'm sorry, we were so caught up with other things we didn't even take the time to ask about your reincarnation. I hope you can forgive me. Then Grafia got up and hugged Issei, which caught him and the others off guard. It was too much for them to listen to, and to think Issei managed to deal with this trauma without going insane. Issei. As I already said, I don't blame you or your family, and neither do I blame Sona and her peerage. Cerziches. Issei, I appreciate your kindness, but please let me repay you for everything you've done for us and what you've had to suffer through. I won't be able to feel at ease unless you do. I will grant you anything ask, as long as it's within my power. Issei. Anything, Cerziches. Yes, anything, Issei. Sigh, if it makes you feel better then fine, I ask to be made a free devil. His request caught Cerziches and the others off guard, but at the same time it could be expected. Then Kiba spoke up. Kiba. But Issei, what about the raiding game with Saraerg? Issei. I made a promise to Saraerg and I intend to keep it. I'll fight in the raiding game, but after that Rias and the others are on their own. I'll make them see how wrong they were. And don't worry, Cerziches, even though I'm leaving her peerage I won't let her die. I'm not that kind of person. I'll know how much she means to you and your family. I'll protect her, but only in life-threatening situations, nothing more, nothing less. Cerziches. I understand, thank you, Issei. Now let's begin the process. Cerziches stretched out his hand and a red magic circle appeared on Issei's chest. I, Cerziches Lucifer, hereby grant you, Issei Haidu, the opportunity to become a free devil. You may use promotions without a king, and you will no longer be bound by your master. You must obey the commands of the Devil Kings and help in times of crisis. Issei Haidu, the Red Dragon Emperor, wielder of the boosted gear. Do you accept? Issei. Yes, I do. Cerziches. Then, as the great Devil King Lucifer, I hereby make you a free devil. When it was done the circle disappeared. Issei. Thank you, Cerziches. Cerziches. Of course, it's the least I can do. Is there anything else? Issei. Actually yes, would you mind changing the Grab and Dragon show? I know the kids enjoy it, but it has damaged Drake's reputation and it's making him depressed. Cerziches. Sure thing. Got any names? Issei. How about Tales of the Security? Azazel. That sounds like a good name. Grafia. I agree. Ravel. That's a very fitting name considering it will be regarding Issei and Drake's battles, feats, and achievements. Kiba. I think it's a great name. Cerziches. Then it's settled, it will be renamed the Path of the Security, and of course, we'll remove the perverted stuff, although the children will miss calling you the Op-Eye Dragon. Thank you, Issei. Drake cried tears of joy. Issei. Of course, Drake, and regarding the kids, how about this? They can call me the Red Dragon King. Azazel. Sounds good. Cerziches. Alright, anything else? Issei. As of now, no. Grafia. Well, don't hesitate to ask us. Issei. I won't, and thank you, all of you, especially you, Ravel. Ravel. Blushing, of course, Issei. Cerziches. No thank you, Issei, you've done so much for us in the underworld. Don't forget you faced off against the leader of the hero faction, who wields the true holy spear, also known as the strongest Longinus, which could kill the original Devil Kings if they were still alive. So this is nothing, see you later and call if you need anything. Issei. I will later. After saying their goodbyes, Cerziches and Grafia headed back to the underworld. It was now nighttime in the human world, and only Kiba, Azazel and Ravel were still with Issei. Then Azazel stepped forward, he was about to bow, but Issei raised his hand. Issei. There's no need to apologize, Azazel, it wasn't your fault, even though you sent Raynor and the others to Kuo to observe sacred gear holders, they're the ones that decided to disobey you and kill me in Asia. Azazel. Yeah, but still he was cut off as Issei hugged him that tight. Issei. You need to move from the past, so do I, otherwise we'll miss out on what the future has to offer. I don't blame you for what happened, so you shouldn't blame yourself. Azazel. Yeah, you're right, well, I'm gonna head out, call if you need anything. Issei. I will. So Azazel prepared a teleportation circle to take him to the Grigori, then he left, and afterward Kiba tried to apologize to Issei for not being there for him, which Issei waved it off saying it wasn't his fault. Then Kiba left as well, leaving Issei and Ravel alone in bed. The two of them laid down and Issei brought Ravel closer to him, making her blush. She had no experience with relationships, so she wasn't exactly sure what to do. But luckily she had read some love stories from time to time and decided to use a bit of that knowledge. She'd also have to ask her mother, and that's when it hit her. Ravel. Issei. Issei. Yes, Ravel. Ravel. Blushing, since we're married now, we'll have to introduce you to my parents and explain the situation. Issei. Oh shit, I forgot about that, perhaps we should do it after the rating game. You're their only daughter, and you're a pure-blooded devil, so it might cause an uproar when others find out we're not engaged, but married. Ravel. Okay, sure, I can wait until then. Both of them yawned. It had been a long day. Then Issei buried his face in Ravel's breasts and fell asleep. Ravel couldn't help but blush. She then used magic to change them into their sleepwear and she buried her face in his chest, then she also fell asleep. Sometime later Riaz and the rest of the girls came home. When they tried to enter Issei's room, there was a barrier put and the door was locked, prohibiting them from entering. Riaz. What the why's the door locked? Issei unlocked the door. No answer came. Issei was asleep. Akeno. I guess he's upset about what happened in the club room. Kaneko. Why would he be upset? Riaz is the one who should be upset. Issei doesn't deserve upset. Asia. Issei, please answer us, let's talk, it can be about anything. Still no answer came. Zenobia. That's enough of this stupidity, I'm going to cut down that door and then he'll have to talk. She summoned Durandal while the rest of the girls except Asia prepared their attacks. On Zenobia's mark, which was her swinging Durandal, they all attacked. And much to their surprise, all the attacks were repelled and they had to dodge. Most of them managed to get out of the way, but Riaz and Akeno were hit by their own attacks and Asia quickly healed them. Asia. Are you okay? Riaz. Yes, Asia, everyone, let's try again. The barrier is strong. Issei must have boosted his power a lot, but it'll have to break eventually. The girls nodded and they tried again and again and again for several hours. Eventually they gave up. They were perplexed as to how Issei managed to create a barrier that strong, let alone a barrier at all. Seeing that they wouldn't be able to sleep with Issei tonight, they each meet to their own rooms. And who was it that created the barrier? It was none other than Anos. He created it after Kiba left. It prohibited Riaz and the girls from entering, while it allowed others that Issei trusted to enter. Chapter 3. The next day it was early in the morning. Issei and Ravel were still asleep cuddling together. Then Issei was woken up and when he opened his eyes he saw Anos. Issei. Hey Anos, what's up? Anos. We're going to begin your training, there's no telling what'll happen in the coming days, not to mention you have the rating game coming up. Issei. Alright, I'm ready, I can't afford to disappoint Sererg. Anos. Good, we'll start with meditating. You need to clear your mind and feel your aura. Issei and Anos sat in the lotus flower position. Issei began taking deep breaths to calm his mind. Anos. Now I want you to feel the magic flowing through your body. Focus on the part that feels the strongest. Issei did as Anos said, and he could feel the magic surging throughout his body, from the tip of his feet to the crown of his head. Then he felt a strong amount of magic deep within him. It felt like a sphere. He focused on it, and his source appeared. It was a destruction source similar to Anos' source. What it looks like when Issei is using his source or showing it. Imagine not broken and no sword, that's what it would look like on the inside of Issei. Anos. Issei, open your eyes. Issei. This is my source. Issei looked at it in amazement. Anos. The origin of one magical power is born from its source deep within their body, and when the magic senses it is outclassed, it will go berserk out of fear, allowing you to cause a spell to go out of control or disrupt one's magic. However, it takes more effort and concentration when attempting to use it on more powerful beings, especially gods, which are not nullified so easily, and the same applies to the dragon gods. Issei. Got it, Anos. Now it's time for you to begin learning spells. The first step is the grasp of magical concepts. The difference between the magic in my world and your world is that magic here is like a force or a field of energy that supernatural beings can tap into, and some are born with unique properties such as the Phoenix clan, which has the power to be regeneration any wounds or limbs and control over fire and wind, or like the Bale clan, which has the power of destruction, and due to your former master mother marrying into the house of Gremory, it also has the power of destruction. How much magical power one has is determined at birth and can be increased through hard work and discipline. Even some humans can use magic. And as you know, there are different types of magic. In my world there is demon magic, divine, which is wielded by the gods, holy, which is wielded by humans, and spirit magic, which of course is wielded by spirits. I'll explain the different magic another time. For now let's focus on demon magic. Demonic magic is stronger and more complex, while at the same time more simple than devil magic. Both require the power of using your imagination and the power to create, as well as having a good sense. Issei. So demon magic and devil magic are pretty much similar, right? Anos. Yes, but the main difference between the two is demon magic comes from the source deep within one's body, which origin of one's magical power. Demonic magic is also stronger and more complex. Calculations are also used in demon magic to alter or create new spells. But the most important thing is magical knowledge. Understanding magic plays a huge role in how strong your magic is and how much control you have over it. Also, should you be faced with an opponent with more magical power, by having knowledge on magic you can gain the upper hand. Also, there's a slight difference between demon and devil bodies. All devils have enhanced physical abilities such as superhuman strength, endurance, and enhanced senses such as sight and hearing, in addition to being able to see clearly in the dark. Devils can fly using their bat-like wings, which are capable of retracting into their backs as if disappearing entirely. They also possess a passive ability called language, which allows normal people listening to them to hear it in the language they're most familiar with, and vice versa. Devils are also immune to being sunburned. The difference between the two is that demons don't have bat-like wings, are stronger than devils, as well as being able to live longer, and aren't affected by holy magic in this world. Considering how weak it is, even a demon child would be unaffected. They say. Okay, I understand that, but I've never been good with magic. Shouldn't we focus on physical strength or Anos? Don't worry about that, just leave it to me. Don't forget you're not the only one who can make the impossible possible. Not to mention I've been around for thousands of years. They say. Right, sorry for doubting you, I'll place my faith in you. Anos. Good, don't forget those words, and oh, I forgot something important. Say. What? Anos. Drake turned some of your body into that of a dragon. Say. What, why? Anos. The dragon's fall destroyed a lot of your body, which resulted in Drake having to turn your body into that of a dragon. Say. But couldn't you have healed my body instead of letting him turn me into a dragon? Anos. First, you're not a full dragon, you're 20% human, 40% devil and 40% dragon, so don't worry, you still have some humanity. Also, being part dragon gives you an advantage. It has increased your strength and speed, and you are strong enough to punch craters in the ground. Your magical reserves, which were non-existent, have increased and rival high-class beings. Apart from that, your senses have become much sharper and your brain can process things in nanoseconds, which is part of the reason you're able to take until the knowledge I'm giving you so easily. And finally, you have an unnaturally high affinity in this world for fire. The only downside is that dragon-slaying weapons are effective against you. However, the stronger you become, the more resistance you have to dragon-slaying weapons. They say. That's incredible, but it's still not enough to defeat Saraerg, is it? Anos. No, it's not, but under my guidance and training, along with Drake, you'll be ready for him and future foes. Say, I have an offer. How'd you like to give up being a devil? Say. What do you mean by that? Anos. You are currently part human, part dragon, and part devil. If I were to replace the devil side of you, by giving you some of my DNA, you'd become part human, part dragon and part demon, making you stronger and giving you complete resistance to light-based attacks. You'd be 20% human, 40% dragon, and 40% demon, making you even more powerful, but you won't be able to fully tap into your power, and the amount of times you can boost yourself will be lessened because the strain it would put on your body would kill you. And don't worry about the evil pieces, I'll take care of them. They say. Well, it sounds good, but before I agree, if you're giving me some of your DNA, shouldn't I become a full demon? Anos. No, say, having my blood doesn't make one a full demon unless that's what you want me to do. You see, say, I'm not a full demon either, I'm a hybrid, mostly human and part demon. Say. Huh. But you're the demon king of tyranny, how are you? Anos. A demon king is someone who enforces their will with the strength of their power, their pedigree is irrelevant. I am no different than any other demon, there is nothing noble about my power, neither is my blood of greater significance. Honor does not come from strength or blood, if it has a source then it comes from one's heart. So that is what you must develop. Think, question, agonize, and challenge. Whatever glistens in me can glisten in you. Honor is not so cheap as to be gained by resting on one's laurels. I didn't become the demon king of tyranny because I was born with extraordinary power and strength. No, I became the demon king of tyranny through hard work, dedication to my people, and acquiring knowledge. It doesn't matter if I am a hybrid, as long as anyone has even a drop of my blood that makes them a demon. My descendant never forget the say. Say. I understand, I promise to always remember that. I want you to turn me into a demon only by 40%. Anos. Then it settled. Anos then turned Issei into a demon while erasing his devil side. Once it was done, Issei felt a surge of energy through his body. Issei. Incredible, I can feel the demonic power flowing freely through me, it feels as though it's always been a part of me. I wonder why my devil blood didn't feel like this. Anos. This is an example of the difference between demons and devils. Also, you and I are highly compatible, which is why your source is similar to mine, a destruction source, meaning no one in this world besides me will be stronger than you in terms of the power to destroy, given time of course. In case you've forgotten, as I've already stated, this will happen in time, otherwise your body will not survive, and creating a new one will take a long time due to my current state, and it could also damage your soul. An example of that is never feeling happiness or love. So you must be patient. Issei. Understood. Anos. Very well, our magic training session will begin with you learning fire magic, since you have a high affinity for it. The name of it is Grega. It is the weakest fire spell. Feel the magic surging throughout your body and try focusing it into one of your hands, then envision a flame forming in the palm of your hand. Issei did as Anos instructed, and some small sparks appeared in the palm of Issei's hand, before then becoming small weak flames. Anos. Stop. Issei. What's wrong? Anos. You're doing it wrong, you are forcing the magic by scrapping it together. Try again and this time let it flow naturally, don't force it. An. In case you've forgotten, Anos will teach Issei demon magic, then devil and other magic. Well, demon magic is more complex than devil magic. Issei has a strong affinity for demon magic compared to devil magic. Issei did as Anos instructed. He felt the energy in his source, he focused it, and thought of the flames riser made. He tried to copy one. Anos. Open your eyes, Issei. Issei saw he had formed a powerful fire in the palm of his hand. Instead of it being orange like risers, Issei's flame was a deep red. Anos. Do you see the difference? When you tried to force the magic together, it barely formed small flames, but by allowing the magic to flow freely, you produced a more powerful flame. What you've produced is the spell Grega. Issei. Damn, demon magic is no joke. Anos. No, it is not. Now focus the flame into a sphere and attack the statue. The statue Anos created was Ria's. Issei shot it at the statue, destroying it completely. It was equivalent to a dragon shot. Issei was shocked by the amount of power he produced just from his source. Afterward, Issei practiced more and more until Anos said it was enough. Then Anos began teaching Issei the concepts of magic, and he had finished his morning training. Anos allowed Issei to wake up. When Issei woke up, the first thing he saw was Ravel's beautiful face. They were still cuddled up. Issei smiled and began stroking Ravel's hair, beautiful blonde hair, which was soft yet the right amount of thickness. Ravel eventually woke up to the sort sensation of Issei's hand rubbing her hair. Her deep blue eyes met Issei's chocolate brown ones. Both of them blushed when they realized how close they were. Ravel. Morning, Issei. How are you feeling? Issei. Morning, I'm fine. How about you? Did you sleep well? He asked as they both sat up in bed. Ravel. Yes. Issei. That's good. Well, I'm off to the shower. Ravel. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I have to head to the Phoenix Mansion to grab a few things. Issei. Since that's the case, do you want to go first? Ravel. Yes, thank you. Issei. Of course. Ravel then got off the bed and headed towards the shower that was in Issei's room. As she walked, Issei couldn't help but mentally measure her figure. She was his wife after all, and it wouldn't be long before his draconic instinct started to surface. Issei, man, Ravel's breasts seem bigger than when I saw her naked in the mountain hot springs, not to mention she's got an ass on her. Did she develop some more, or is it my imagination? I hope not. Anos. No, it isn't. Issei. Anos. Anos. Ravel's body is still developing. My estimate is she'll be as beautiful or surpass the beauty of her mother. Issei. Really? That's incredible. Thanks for the info. Anos. You're welcome, but that's not why I am here. I am here to tell you that you need to control your perverseness if you want others to respect you. Issei. Yeah, you're right, thanks Anos. Anos. No problem. After Anos cut the connection between the two, Issei got up and made up the bed. Not too long after, Ravel came out with a towel around her body. She had forgotten her clothes, which were on the nightstand next to the bed. Issei couldn't help but stare at her as he imagined how she looked naked. Ravel saw it and blushed heavily before Issei managed to snap out of his perverse train of thoughts and handed Ravel her clothes. Issei. Sorry for staring, I couldn't help myself. I'll head to the bathroom while you change. Ravel. Blushing. Okay, thank you. After handing Ravel her clothes, Issei headed to the bathroom, still thinking about how gorgeous she'd look naked. A part of him wanted to peek, but he knew he shouldn't, and he thought about what Anos told him, how he needs to control his perverseness. Meanwhile, as Ravel was getting dressed, she checked to see if Issei was peeping on her, which he wasn't, and a part of her felt disappointed. She wanted him to see her naked. Ravel. No, what am I thinking? I am Ravel Phoenix, a noble member of the House of Phoenix. I shouldn't be thinking like this. This was the effect of the mate mark, causing Ravel to have some perverted thoughts, and Issei, resisting the urge to peek, also with some earlier help from Anos, of course. After getting dressed, Ravel knocked on the door, letting Issei know she was done, and about 15 minutes later Issei came out wearing the Kuo Academy uniform, which consisted of a black jacket and black pants, accompanied by his usual red shirt. But this time, instead of his usual blue and white sneakers, he wore a brand new pair of red and white Jordans he got the other day. And Ravel wore the female version of the uniform, imagine no tie, and the shirt is black, with a red skirt. Ravel. I'm off to the Phoenix Mansion, see you later. Issei stepped forward and kissed her on the cheek, which caught her off guard, making her blush, but she would have preferred it if he kissed her on the lips. Issei. Later Ravel simply nodded and teleported to the underworld, leaving Issei alone in his thoughts. He was about to head downstairs and eat breakfast, but then he remembered Riaz and the others were still in the house, and he rather not deal with them, leaving him with two options. One, wait for them to leave and then eat, or two, leave through the window and get something to eat. He decided to go with option 2 and made a mental note to get Ano's or Ravel or Kiba to teach him teleportation magic. He opened the window and as he was about to jump out he heard a knock on the door. It was Asia. Asia? Issei, are you up? I made French toast for breakfast. Issei didn't respond, he simply stood there for a moment as he remembered what happened in the club room and what Riaz and the others said. It infuriated him and he decided to ignore Asia. Issei jumped out the window and used his dragon wings to slow his fall, then he began walking towards the cafe. Upon reaching the cafe he usually went to whenever he was in the mood for coffee, or Issei found out it was closed for repairs. Disappointed by this, Issei went to a cafe across the street that opened up recently. The name of it was Kuo Jitters. Issei. This place looks cool. Kiba. Yo Issei turned and saw Kiba standing in line waving at him. Issei walked toward him and got in line. Issei. Morning Kiba, what's up? Kiba. Morning Issei. I was on the way to school last week when I saw that the cafe was closed for repairs, so I started coming here. Issei. Really? I just noticed it was closed today. Kiba. Well, we've been pretty busy so it's no surprise. Issei. Yeah, this whole Chaos Brigade thing has been driving me nuts, and then the raiding game against Sarayer gets a lot. Kiba. Definitely, how come Ravel isn't here with you? Issei. She said she needed to grab some things from the Phoenix Mansion, we'll see her later on. Kiba. Oh okay. Issei. So what are you getting? As you know, this is my first time here and I'm not sure what to get. Kiba. I'm getting a frappuccino and some glazed munchkins. The munchkins are very good, but I think a latte would be a great start for you. Issei. Then it's settled, I'll get a latte and some glazed munchkins. When the time came, Kiba and Issei ordered their drinks and munchkins, which were soon ready. Kiba and Issei ate on the way to school. Man, you were right, this stuff is great, it tastes better than the old cafe, thanks Kiba. Kiba. No problem, I bet Roswis would like the cafe, and it's not far from school. Issei. Yeah, and it's cheap. They both laughed at that. Roswis had a knack for finding things that were cheap yet good looking, and in quality as well as good tasting. An. Please correct me if I'm wrong about Roswis's personality. Kiba. Hey Issei. Issei. Yeah. Kiba. I'm sorry. I know you said it wasn't my fault regarding what happened in the club room the other day, but I still feel responsible. I promised you that if anyone tried to harm you I'd annihilate them, but I wasn't there when you needed me and you almost died. Had it not been for Ravel you'd be dead and I'd never be able to forgive myself. I'm sorry for not being there when you needed me. I know you don't want to hear me apologize, but my pride as a knight won't allow me to do otherwise. Issei was silent for a while before deciding to speak. Issei. Kiba. Kiba. Yes, Issei. Issei. For a long time I've been lonely ever since I was a child, that was of course until I met Irina, but once she left for England I felt lonely again, that was until I met you guys. Kiba, you've done a lot for me. You helped me save Asia, taught me the basics of sword fighting, to widen my field of vision whenever battling an opponent, and you helped me adjust to my life as a devil. Thank you for that. Everything I've done for you has been from the kindness of my heart. You don't owe me anything, you and Gasper are the brothers I never had. But if you still feel indebted to me and you wish to pay me back, then by all means do so. I won't force you to, nor will I try to obstruct you from doing so. Kiba. Thank you Issei. Issei. Of course. Kiba. So you aren't mad at Gasper? Issei. No, there is no reason to be upset with him. It's natural that he sided with Riaz. In fact, if I was in his position I'd do the same. Not only that, but you have to remember he's younger than the rest of us. Kiba. Yeah, you're right. Ravel. Issei. Kiba. Issei and Kiba looked and saw Ravel already inside the school gate. She waited for them to catch up, then they walked together. Upon entering the schoolyard, the males looked at Issei with hatred and envy, while the females were disgusted seeing Issei with Kiba and Ravel. They couldn't understand why a useless, despicable pervert like Issei was allowed to join the orc. Whenever they caught him peeping they'd bear him up even worse, and sometimes they did it because they felt like it. They didn't want him near their queens of Kuo, as Riaz and Akeno were called. The trio simply ignored it. Issei walked Ravel to her classroom, and on his way back he saw Asia and Zenobia entering the classroom. When he entered he didn't make eye contact with them, he simply walked past them. Asia and Zenobia tried to talk, but he ignored them, taking his seat next to Kiba. The other students noticed the cold shoulder Issei was giving them and how Kiba simply ignored them. They wanted to ask questions, but before they could say anything teacher came in and class began. Meanwhile, Issei decided to check on Anos and Drake. He entered the mindscape and saw Drake and Anos engaging in an intense battle. It ended with Anos being the victor, of course. Anos decided to take a break. Issei. Hey guys, what's up? Anos. Hello Issei, shouldn't you be in class right now? Issei. It's kind of boring, besides I wanted to ask you something. Ah, knows what is it, Issei? I was wondering if you would be willing to train my friends Kiba and Ravel. Ah, knows. Sure thing, just bring them into the mindscape when you're ready, also we'll be doing physical training as well after school. But you should get back to school, your teacher is trying to reach you, Issei. Okay, thanks, see you later. He left the mindscape, opened his eyes, and saw the teacher glaring at him. Teacher? Mr. Haidu, are my lessons that boring? If so, you can head to the principal's office, Issei. It's not that, I'm just a little tired from my training routine, that's all, and I don't see the problem, since I'm doing work, besides I can answer any question that you throw at me. Teacher? Is that so? Let's test that thing, let's see how much you pay attention, Issei. Sure thing. The students couldn't believe what he said, just agreed to. They knew that the teacher would come up with some kind of crazy, nearly impossible question. But he said okay like it was no big deal. The teacher didn't walk over to the board and put an algebra problem on the board. Teacher? If you manage to solve this problem on the board, I'll let you sleep in class anytime you want without complaints. Do you accept? If you fail, you will be punished. Issei. Fine by me, I accept. Issei walked over to the board and quickly solved the math equation, which normally takes about 20 minutes, but he solved the equation, and 30 seconds the teacher and the class were stunned and couldn't believe what they saw. He had solved the most difficult question in class. Issei. Well, I solved the equation, can I go to sleep now? The teacher had no choice but to uphold their agreement. Teacher? Fine, I will allow you to go to sleep. Issei went back to his desk, put his head down and went to sleep. He was still tired from his training with Anos. It would be a while before he got used to it. Anos could have replenished his energy, but he wanted to make sure Issei's magical reserves were strained. Eventually, Issei would be able to surpass his limits. After the class was over, all of his classmates surrounded him and started bombarding him with questions about what happened to him and why he wasn't acting friendly towards Asia and Zenobia. Issei ignored all of their questions. Then Mitsuda and Motohama came up and were trying to convince Issei to join them in peeping on the girls. The females looked at them with disgust, then Issei finally snapped. Issei. Listen, I'm not going peeping, so leave me alone. He flared some of his aura, making them fall. If you stop peeping, then maybe you'd get a girlfriend. Either way, I'm not interested in peeping, including the kendo club. Mitsuda. But why not? Motohama. Issei, how could you do that to us? We're supposed to be friends. Mitsuda. Yeah, bros before hoes, man. You're surrounded by beautiful women every damn day while you leave us out. Issei. I'm not a pervert anymore, I'm giving it up and changing for the better. I'm changing because unlike you I care about my future. Everyone. What? Motohama. You're lying. Mitsuda. Yeah, you're just trying to get on the girl's good side so you can buck him. Earl 1. As if that would ever happen. Hadis. Yeah, what your angle, Haidu? Issei. There's no angle, I'm simply not interested. Murayama. What, we're not good enough for you? Issei. It's not that, believe me, you're all really beautiful, but I'm not interested because I'm not a pervert anymore. Everyone. What? They couldn't believe what they heard. Akia. Are you feeling okay? Asia. Issei, why, you're joking, right? Zenobia. Of course he is. Asia, he can't possibly be serious. Issei. Yes, I understand you're shocked, but I'm giving up being a pervert. Hadis. We're not buying it. Mitsuda. Yeah, you're just trying to get on the girl's good side so you can buck him. Murayama. As if that would ever happen. Kiba. He's telling the truth. Girls. Kiba. Somehow they had forgotten Kiba was in the classroom as well. Kiba. Hi girls, I understand if you don't believe him, but he's telling the truth. He asked me to help him cut down his perversion. He's officially not a part of the perverted trio. He won't be causing any more problems. Issei stood up. Issei. Look, I know I caused you all a lot of problems, and I know I'm an ass, but I'm genuinely sorry. I hope we can move forward, please forgive me. To say the girls were shocked was an understatement. They simply stared for a moment, and some pinched themselves. They thought it was a dream. Zenobia and Asia were shell-shocked. They couldn't believe what was happening. They needed to talk to Ria. Issei must be going insane. Then after a few minutes, the girls finally spoke up. Girl. Fine, we believe Kiba, but we're keeping an eye on you just in case. Issei. Thank you, I expected nothing less, and thank you Kiba for helping me. Kiba. Of course, anything for my best friend. Time skip. After class during lunch, Issei and Kiba Ravel went to the rooftop to eat lunch. They began to discuss things and rating game tactics. Then Issei sensed someone coming, so he whispered to Kiba and Ravel. Then they turned around and saw Akeno. Issei gave her a harsh glare that sent shivers down her spine, and Kiba and Ravel had plain looks on their faces, but Akeno sensed she was interrupting something. Akeno. Rias wants to see you after class today on the training grounds, especially you, Issei. Issei. Whatevs now, can you please leave, we're in the middle of something important. She sensed a bit of hatred in his voice, making her shiver in fear even more. Without saying another word, she walked away. Issei was silent, but Ravel felt the rage in him that Anos was currently suppressing. She put her hand on his, and he started calming down. Ravel. Issei, you alright? We're here for you. Issei. Yeah, I'm fine, sorry for worrying you, it's hard to not lose control, it's hard being around them, I've been training to control my rage. Kiba. I know, but we gotta stick to the plan. Before Akeno came, one of the things they were discussing was that when Issei became a high-ranking devil, he'd take Kiba and Gasper with him. But he had to use dexterity so Rias wouldn't catch on. Well, he could have just asked Surziches to force Rias to hand over Kiba and Gasper. He wanted to show Rias and the other girls that he wasn't the fool that they thought he was. He wanted to outsmart them. Issei. I know, it's just. He was cut off due to Ravel smashing her lips into his. He was caught off guard but reciprocated a kiss. Kiba sat there smirking. If anyone could calm Issei down right now, it was Ravel. After a few minutes they separated. A trail of saliva followed. Ravel. Blushing. Feel better? She was blushing. She didn't know she kissed Issei, but she felt like it was the right thing to do and it made her happy. Issei. Yes, thank you. They stared at each other, looking each other in the eye. Then Kiba interrupted them. Kiba. Come on, lovebirds, we have to get back to class. Both of them blushed instantly. They didn't realize how long they were staring at each other. Kiba, on the other hand, was getting a kick of this. He knew he was going to enjoy teasing them. They left a rooftop and went back to class. This time Issei stayed up, having recovered most of his energy. After class they went to the orc. Kiba knocked on the door. Ria said come in. They walked in and saw Ria sitting at her desk, Akeno serving tea, Kaneko, Asia, and Zenobia were sitting together. They were smiling. This started to piss Issei off. His aura started to flare, but Ano suppressed it before anyone could notice it. Rias. Hello Issei, Kiba, and Ravel. Kiba. Ravel. Hello President and everyone else. Rias noticed something was up. Kiba didn't sound cheery like he normally did, and Ravel never addressed anyone so vaguely. Issei. Hello President. He didn't say her name intentionally. Rias winced at this. The other girls looked at him with disappointment and a little hate. Issei pretended not to notice it. The trio sat down opposite the girls. Kiba sat next to Issei, and Ravel sat in the other side of him. Kaneko didn't like it. She was about to get up and sit on Issei's lap when she sat back down out of fear. She felt as though someone was staring into her soul. The cause of it was Ano's. He was releasing some of Issei's hatred on a wavelength only she could feel due to being a Nekomata. Rias and the girls didn't like Ravel being with Issei. It felt like he was replacing them. Rias, he still can't say my name. I let him see me naked. I smother him with my breasts. I try to show that I love him, and I even offered him my virginity. What more does he need? And now he's trying to replace me with Ravel. Am I not good enough? Flashback. 10 seconds directly after Issei ran out of the club room after Rias said she regretted turning him into a devil. Rias. Whispering to herself, no, what am I thinking? I could never regret reincarnating Issei. I love him with all my heart. If it wasn't for Issei I'd be buckdoll for Riser, so would Akeno and perhaps Kaneko and Asia too, and Riser wouldn't be a better person. Issei sacrificed his arm to save me from my engagement. He tough against Kakabiel, managing to punch him in the face, making him a little pain when I couldn't, even if sucking on my breasts was his motivation. Then he fought Vali, a descendant of the original Lucifer, supposedly an ultimate class devil, to a standstill. After that, when we fought against Loki's, we shielded me from his attacks and took an attack from Fenrir that was meant for me. He killed Diodora and activated the Juggernaut drive, killing Shalba Beelzebub because he thought Asia was dead. Then he risked his life to save me from the dimensional gap. He was even willing to give up being a devil. He obviously loves me, but for some reason he won't say it. Maybe I was too hasty. I shouldn't have tried to force him to confess. I need to talk to Issei. Flashback end. Asia. Issei, aren't you going to speak to us? Issei. Why should I? Asia flinched. She hadn't expected him to answer so harshly. Rias, wanting to change the subject, decided to speak. Rias. Well, now that everyone is here I'll get to it. Azazel will be here soon to take us to the new training grounds that were just completed. He'll also be assisting us, especially in the aspect of sacred gears. Any questions? Everyone? No. Rias. Issei, is everything okay? Are we on good terms? You haven't spoken to the rest of us. Issei simply closed his eyes and didn't respond. Akeno. Issei, why won't you answer Rias? And why didn't we see you at breakfast this morning? You didn't answer Asia when she knocked on the door, and you ignored her and Zenobia earlier. Then you said something about not being a pervert. What's happening to you? Rias. Akeno, that's enough. Akeno. But Rias. I already got my answer, it's fine. Besides, we can't force Issei to answer something he doesn't want to. I really messed up. I should have tried let him finish what he was going to say before cutting him off and running out of the room. That was so childish. What was I thinking? How am I going to fix this? Asia, Kaneko, and Zenobia also wanted to speak, but after seeing Rias stop Akeno, they knew it was pointless. She would tell them to be quiet as well. Then Azazel appeared out of a teleportation circle. Azazel. Ah, you're all here, good. Let's go. Roswis is already at the training field waiting for us. Issei, Kiba, Ravel, and the orc stepped into the teleportation circle Azazel had prepared and teleported to the new training grounds. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.